Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Smart. I'm the awards editor of Backstage. Thank you all so much for being here. Yay! How are y'all doing? We good? Okay. I would like to introduce Academy Award nominee, SAG Award winner, and 4-time Emmy Award winner. Please help me welcome Alfre Woodard. How are you today?
I'm good. I just want to see who all's here with us.
Yeah. Excited to be here with the actors.
Everyone who loves you.
So sweet.
Hi.
So this film came out at Sundance, so I imagine you've been to a lot of screenings. How many times have you seen the film? You have to see it over and over again?
I think I have seen it 4 times altogether.
Okay.
And that was my limit.
Do you enjoy watching yourself?
I don't watch myself, I watch characters.
Okay, amazing. Oh, wonderful. Okay, good. I can tell this is going to be good. Right off the bat, how did you get involved with Clemency? You were also credited as an executive producer. How did that
Right.
come to be?
Which part? The executive producer or me getting involved?
Both.
Bronwyn Cornelius, our producer, came to me 2 years before we actually started rolling. And she told me about the project. She told me there was this dynamic young woman filmmaker, and she talked about Chinoya, and then she said what it was about, which always it piques my interest, because I like to tell stories that that make a difference, even if it's lowbrow slapstick. It makes a difference in people's experience. And then when I met Chinoya and she told me the point of view, it was one that I realized that, as grown up as I am and educated and had been socially active since I was a teen, I had no idea about these people's lives, that point of view. I would have been always on the other side, standing outside the prison, chanting with, like-minded people. So I'm always interested in growth and progress. And for me, this put on the table a pertinent, a vital part of the conversation. Between yay or nay is a big reality that was missing. And so I wanted to tell that story. I came on as an executive producer because, y'all know, we get hired as actors, but you have to keep a lot of, you got to do a lot of first responding and policing and advising and saying, okay, I don't know if that's, we better think that out, how it's going to look, what it's going to say. So, everybody should just step up and say, you know what, I'll produce it. You don't even have to give any money, but because you're going to be doing that anyway, so you might as well be credited for it.
Well, and I feel like it must have been...
This is heavy.
Yeah. It's like your Emmys? Heavy? I was looking
I
at
don't
your...
hoist them around. What do you think?
I'd love to ask where you keep them, but
Segue.
no.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I feel like for this film, because it's so much about the perspective, I almost feel like it's like a novel where the main character is, you hear it all from her perspective as if it's in first person. And so it makes sense that an executive producer credit would kind of come from that, because so much of this movie was you. So much of this in terms of where the camera's on you, but also in terms of the, shall we say, emotional arc of this movie has to happen on your watch almost.
Well, me being an executive producer is like saying I live in Santa Monica.
Okay.
It has no relevance when the camera's rolling or when I'm on set
Okay,
or when
gotcha.
I'm actually doing the work.
Right.
It has to do with before and after,
Gotcha.
prep and post.
Right. So I was going to ask, is it two different hats? And it sounds like they're very separate, compartmentalized.
I'm just laughing. Hat sounds funny.
Actor hat, producer hat.
There is no actor hat.
No, no, certainly not. Exactly. So the prep beforehand, what was the prep like for this?
Well, so like I said, two years out, we started to have conversations. Fell immediately in love with Chinoya and knew that we spoke the same language. From her influences as a filmmaker, who she liked, and I can't call their names, but they tend to be filmmakers that have what we would call, Americans would call a European pacing sensibility. But of course, we have had lots of, well, not lots, but we've had some significant American directors that let the camera roll the way life rolls and trusts actors to just be filling it out. Instead of like every time you talk, they switch to this person, switch to that person. And when you're viewing, you always think, well, yeah, okay, they're talking, but nobody ever says exactly what they mean. So life happens between the lines. You know, we have to know our intentions. That's what drives a scene. That's what drives life. It's not what people say, unless you're doing some bad writing and people are just speaking their subtext. Right. That happens. Sure. But so I trusted her. You know, I've worked with a lot of first-time filmmakers, first-time directors, and there's some people that, you know, they might have done 20 films. They're still not necessarily cinematic. Right. And there are people that, you know, they're it right out of the block. It doesn't, even if they've only done a short, even if they haven't done a short, and you know that person has a filmmaker sensibility, and whether it's one that matches yours by having conversations with them. And so it could be their first time, first budget, but they're not a first time artist, a storyteller. So where was I? Where am I now? Oh, I know. Okay, how it all started. So, man, they did all the like groundwork and Bronwyn of finding the financing, and there's a whole long story that, of course, I was not that kind of executive producer. So I like, tell me when it's time. But we found the right people to let us just tell the story. We shot it in 17 days, and and frankly, I don't think any of us could have taken another day. We had a crew that stepped up. Okay, we'll talk about the actors in a minute. You can ask me about them, but our crew, everybody came on with a sense of purpose and mission. And first of all, when you know how much money you have, it's like grocery shopping. You know what aisle to stay out of when you know how much money you got. So you know your budget. Yeah. It always helps to have a tight script. And a script is just flat on a page. So you're depending on your production designer, your DP. Eric Bronco was our DP, just sensational and visionary. And props, everybody was just prepared because they had a mission. And so I remember years ago, we used to take 3 months to shoot a film, and you'd have like a budget of, you know, $70 million. And that's when people did not make $10 million just for showing up. Right. But, and you just shot forever. It doesn't take forever. And anybody that ever did low budget films knows that, you know. So, again, so yeah, we did it that quickly, but it's knowing. Everybody's got to know what they're doing, and your filmmaker has to know what they're doing, what they want to pull off. And, you know, you have, bless you. It's like running. It's like running in the Olympics, and I'm going to bring that up again with the actors. You just don't run around, serpentine around the track. It's like, where's the track? There's it. Like, I am prepped to do that, and you go for it.
Yeah, and it's partly because it's 17 days that you're like, we have to focus.
Well, you always focus.
Okay.
You know, I come to work and to finish. I start to finish. I used to have a teacher, Michael Howard. I just saw him recently. Hadn't seen him forever at BU. And he'd always say, you enter the stage to leave the stage. Don't get out there, start feeling good and exploring stuff. And like, it's like, you know what? You don't sit around like, doing sense memory in life. Take a sip of your coffee and get your butt off stage. So
I like that. You enter to exit. I like
he would, because you've got a reason to go. You've got an intention. Everybody's got an intention. That's what makes it go. But he would wait until we had to go to the loo, and you say, okay, I'm gonna slip out. They go, nope, go to the stage now. So you'd go do your scene having to go to the bathroom because you'd get it done and get out of there.
urgency. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to go to the grocery store with the list. You got to know what you're getting at the grocery store. You got to get in, get out.
You have to know what you want your meal to taste like and how people want to feel after they have it. So you can make choices inside the store.
That's beautiful. I want to keep the metaphor going. It's beautiful.
I cook.
Did the script change? Did you see it go through changes maybe before the shoot?
Well, Chinoya, she changed her life to do this. She moved from New York to Ohio. She spent 8 years teaching screenwriting for incarcerated women. I think it's called Pens to Screen. I forget the name of it, but yeah, she did that. She worked on, dozens of clemency cases. I think I met her right around the Tyra Patterson case, but she was inspired by Troy Davis, when they executed Troy Davis and Georgia. And she met or came across a group of people who worked in the death machine, and they had written, so everybody writes the governor to try to get a stay, but they had written a letter and all signed on saying, you can't kill this man because this is what it will do to everybody working around him. Because by the time you take that person's life, it's not the person that did the heinous crime, it is a person that they've seen every day for at least 10 years. It's their coworker. And that person is isolated and being respected, and something that probably has never happened in their life. So it does take a toll to then turn around and take that life. And that's all we wanted to put out there. But also, so many times we found in the aftermath that DNA has exonerated someone that has been put to death. So it's a dodgy thing, playing God.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of this film. The point of this film is so everybody has all the information and you still make whatever decision you want to make. So that's what all stories should do. We just want to hold up that mirror and let the tribe see it play out, and individual tribes people decide, what they're going to do about it.
Yeah. And you had said that it was the perspective, maybe of the warden's perspective, that kind of hooked you on the idea.
Well, it was that, yes, because first of all, I didn't know women were wardens.
Yeah.
And then I thought, when you're a little girl, what do you do, like stepping on birds or something? What is that? I mean, that's how it's.
What's
like,
the origin? What? Yeah.
And you always see, I won't go into that. I was going to say, you always see little boys like kicking ducks and stuff.
Yeah.
No, you don't always see that. But but I learned a lot immediately reading that script and then talking to Chinoya and about the preparation. She took me to Ohio. We went on a prison tour. She had spent a lot of time in prisons there and knew people from every aspect, different sides of the employment there and incarceration. So we went to Ohio, and I met probably 4 women wardens. Interestingly enough, they were all black women. There's 8 women wardens in the state of Ohio, and they are wardens in maximum men's security and medium. I met the director of corrections there, and I met a man named Alan Alt, who has overseen dozens and dozens and dozens of executions because he's worked as a warden and other departments in those states that have never ceased to carry out the executions. And he came on and he blocked our executions for us because when you're telling a story and lives are in the balance, you have to just tell the absolute truth. And so he came. He had since retired and had been, there's a BBC documentary about him. He is an anti-death penalty person in the world that does that. So I met people who work in the prison system and had dinners with them and all. So it wasn't just Bernadine. Bernadine was written. What I needed to find was I just needed to see, breathe the same air, look at people, listen to people that lived the life. And it's like any other thing we do as actors. You observe, you smell, we cannot help but, even on the train or the bus, go off into people's lives with them. You know, we're the ones always imagining, what somebody else is feeling like, what are they thinking. And so I got to go to a place farther away than I've ever been from my own life. And I have done a lot of work in what we would call squatter camps and things. So, and it was right there. It looks like there's this banality to the whole thing. It looks like a junior college in the country or a middle school, except it's just got, and everybody goes in. And when you think about it, again, we're asking people to do the work we don't want to do, and they suffer rates of PTSD that are commensurate with the troops that we ask to go in for multiple deployments. If people are married, they're on their 3rd marriage. And they're not. They're like people to be in your book club, people at your temple, your church, or your synagogue. Yeah. But they also, like us, they speak a language that they understand. So that's why, you see Bernadine, they all frequent the same bar. They'll talk to each other before they'll talk to their significant other or loved one, because nobody knows what it's like to be inside, to be incarcerated yourself in a way.
Sure. Yeah, I was so struck by how it's the tiny little details, especially in the ritual of the execution, that you can tell that must be based on reality, based on truth. But it also, I think, it's those details that contribute to the psychological horror that they experience and the very real PTSD.
Well, you know what? Those things actually keep them in check and together, because protocol, you can always depend on protocol. If we didn't ritualize this, we'd have to admit what we're actually doing. And so we're always trying to find a way to, we're struggling. We're getting better as humans, but, since the dark ages, but it's a constant struggle and a constant crawl towards enlightenment or civility. But the thing is, protocol is the utmost, like the military. If you let one stitch drop, the whole thing could unravel. So when she's saying, she feels for Anthony. His mother died, but no, he can't go to the funeral. What's everybody want to get out to go to a funeral? She says, I got 2,000 people here to keep safe. And you do that by protocol. Yeah. And somebody's got to do the tough job. And interestingly enough, the people that are doing the toughest part of it are the most compassionate. You think, oh my God, they have no compassion. But it takes compassion to walk a man or a woman to her death. And they all said, I've put these many people through the process, clean language, and I have yet to have one that didn't thank me profusely, because it's the law and it's the state and it's going to be carried out. She's waiting, and they all wait for that governor to ring, just like we do. It's like, oh, damn, I got to go face this again. But you promise that condemned person, you promise them dignity, at least on the way out.
At least, yeah.
And they know you. You're the only people they've been seeing all this while.
Right, like you said, it's almost like a family. It's your coworkers. Yeah. So Bernadine, she's sort of a combination of those tiny little details, which you did see in actual wardens. But I also love what you said about you're imagining what these people are feeling.
Well, when it's something like this, you're seeing. I was talking about people on the bus when we're creating character, when we're taking a character from the page, from an idea of something we're playing to a human being, then we imagine. But in this case, as the actor, all you have to do is, first of all, be open, be observant, be really listening and watching. Again, not watching what's necessarily said, but watching behavior, watching all those things that we pick up on as creative animals. And then the job is just when you get back, you know what's required, where you're supposed to move in a scene, what's supposed to happen, and you just focus, because you've been called to something. So really all you have to do is be honest with it. You don't have to do any pyrotechnics, bells and whistles, any of that. Just stay out of the way. We always should stay out of the way of the story and the person that we're playing. But again, when there's lives in the balance, it's easier to do because it matters.
Yeah, the stakes are really high. I want to ask about the shot, the climax of the movie. And I don't know how much you want to reveal about what's going through her head, what she's feeling. I have goosebumps just thinking about it. First of all, did you approach it?
I feel sad.
You feel sad?
Yeah. Go on.
That's it. That's the emotion.
I mean, as we just started to talk about it, my eyes started to fill up. One of the things that happened with me, the toughest part was not filming. The toughest part was when I left. We didn't shoot for a month yet after we did the prison tour. That shook me because, there's no release. There's no weeping. There's no yelling. So it is just, and that's how we breathe. That's how we don't get ulcers. That's how we, they say we're nuts, but we let a lot of stuff flow that keeps our mental health a little more pliable, I think, than if we didn't. But everything is held like this. There is no release or recourse, and so I found myself spontaneously weeping for a month afterwards because I was shedding somebody else's tears. But anyway, so about the shot. That shot, Chinoya could have moved that camera to anybody in that room. because we were all looking at each other. She just had choices. She said she didn't decide on that shot. It wasn't part of pre-production or anything, and it wasn't written. She knew there had to be a cathartic release. At one point, it was going to be in a different part of the story, and it was expressed in a different way with Bernadine alone dancing. But we shot that, and she realized that it couldn't happen there. But we just kept shooting, and in the scene after we did the botched execution, and then we did Anthony's. She just said at one point, she goes, I'm just gonna roll. I'm gonna let the camera roll. So just let it go. Yeah. And so I didn't know how long she's going to do it. She told the woman who was to call it, the medical attendant. She said, "I will signal you when to go in." But again, whenever you're working, once you're in, you know your person, and you're living your life. They can roll all day. And also the same way as you could just be lady in the elevator and the whole scene is happening. They just pass by you. You still need a history. You need a point of view. You need to be absolutely awake and working at that moment, because everybody you passed in the elevator that day has a life and a history. And that's when you believe a whole story and a whole film, is when everybody has absolutely embodied and given a life to their person, even if the camera just goes past them like that. So if the camera stays, then the camera gets to see more, but it doesn't require anything extra for the actor to do.
Right. It goes back to what you were saying about it's about trust in the actor. She trusted you guys so much that she essentially could have just panned that camera wherever in that room.
She did. And Richard Schiff, everybody, Aldous, Michael O'Neill, Danielle, Marta, Vernay, I shouldn't have started. Everybody came to it for that reason. They were all actors that, it's ridiculous to say not afraid, because nobody is afraid, but you could trust that they weren't going to go, well, how long is it going to take? Well, when are you cutting me with it? It was like, no, we came here. And so back to that Olympic analogy, it's just like, if you're running the 440, you know how to run your race. You've trained. You put your hand out there, and you know that baton is going to be placed right where it needs you take up. You know you're number 3 in the race, so you know how much ground you have to give to make up and give to the person coming behind you. So it was, everybody came because we knew it was a place to work and to create, and so it happened. It happened that way.
Beautiful. I almost want to ask: Are there sets? Of course, there have been experiences. We've all had experiences where the set doesn't have that vibe. And I'm wondering what you do to maybe increase more of the trust among collaborators. Are there, because it's not always this lucky to get a writer-director who's that invested.
Well, I think as adults, what we learn is we have to live in a constant state of forgiveness. And everybody can only be who they are. And so instead of freaking out or getting angry or whatever, they might have that, and you go like, wait a minute, if that person could be more than they're being right now, they'd probably choose to do it, even if they're knocking over stuff and all. I think meeting people right where they are and looking at them with expectation, like, I know you can do this. I know you're not going to be a dick right now. I know, people respond to that. And so there's no situation, no matter how bad it is, even if, you've had the screamers, the yellers, and the people that's like, I got drunk last night. I didn't learn my lines. It was like, okay, what are we going to do right now? It doesn't pay to ever punish people because then you're being judgmental too. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe everybody was supposed to have been drunk last night and you didn't do it.
Sure.
So, so I think there's always a way to build community on a set, and you do it just by keeping open and not turning anybody away. Because the truth is, when you're working, you're out to sea together. And when you're out to sea in that little boat, you want to be hollering at people, going like, you are just impossible. You have no upper body strength. You're stupid. No, you want to bring out the best. It's like, come on, Tiffany, you can do it. We can get this boat.
I love these metaphors.
So you just, we're all each other's God because it all begins and ends. It rests on us, but we don't get looked upon that way. And we just, we have to have each other. I mean, that we're all we've got.
Yeah, meet people where they're at.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. Tiffany didn't hire herself, so don't be mad at her because your friend Siobhan should have had that job.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, girl,
Yeah.
we can all do this.
Yeah, judgmental doesn't help the process, I don't think.
Yeah. And I don't think judgmental sounds like a big word in a broad stroke that we go like, well, I'm not judgmental. It is something it's things that are smaller that we do, the little kind of fascist tendencies that we try to grow out of as we mature.
Yeah. This is maybe a silly question, but I would like to know, is there a secret to playing drunk? Are there tricks of the trade? You're very good at it in this film.
It does not help to get drunk. So people saying like, I'm gonna have to play drunk, so I'm gonna get drunk. It's like, no, if you're drunk, you're not gonna remember anything anyway. But my dear friend Alan Rickman used to say, and Alan Carduna, we're all very good friends. Alan Carduna is very much alive and fabulous run on My Fair Lady just now on Broadway, but we'd always do this thing of practicing things like when you're just hanging out doing and so they decided drunk was like lean left and fight the floor. So it's that kind of thing. You're just gonna like call it whatever. Lean left and fight the floor.
Why left?
Who knows? But the thing, so you can give yourself all kinds of ways to be drunk. Or the way you would want to be full or anything else. One thing to do is relaxation. It's the relaxation of the mind, of the mouth, of the eyes, of the body. Relaxation. And, I could have had some drinks on the way over, but I didn't. Because I didn't want to have any drinks because I knew you had water. Wait a minute. I knew that you had some water.
Fight the floor.
Oh, sweet, you dropped that. So, it's the same behavior you always do.
I just got to do a scene with Alfre Woodard.
But then some people, if you're on a champagne high, did you ever jump through a sprinkler when you were a kid? They used to have those. Everybody got a pool now. I don't, but people do. Remember that sprinkler went like that, and you'd have on your little bathing suit, like in the grass, hopping through it. It's like, that's a champagne drunk. It's like but you just use your imagination because as many people as there are, there's different ways that gets expressed. How are you sleepy? Sure. You don't just go like, nobody does that, although some people do that on screen. You get sleep, That sleepy
subtext
comes a
thing.
different. Yeah, and I'm not going to do sleepy for you. That was, but I'm not getting paid tonight, so let me stop.
You're not auditioning for it. Yeah. We have a question from the audience about what was your most rewarding takeaway or life lesson from this film or your portrayal of Bernadine?
My takeaway, and I can't verbalize it, but I got to spend an hour with two condemned men deep in the bowels of a maximum security prison. They asked a block of about 9 men. They said that we were there, Chinoy and I, we were making this film. We were welcome in all these prisons because they had read the script. And of course, they said nobody's ever asked us, nobody's ever told our story. And so they wanted to talk because we were listening, and that made them trust us more. But you know, you just think, if I was sitting on death row and 2 women came from Hollywood going, we want to talk to y'all, it's like, I'm only going to be alive a certain amount of time. I don't know you, and am I going to give you not only my time, but so that was humbling. The takeaway is that I'm a part of those men's history for as long as they have it. And we talked about, and again, I just listen to them talk. You visit the way you visit with anybody, and say like, "Oh, you're in prison. How's that feel?" You know, you know, it might come up about, you know, they brought up children and daughters. They talked about their grown daughters, maybe because we were women, and their concerns, very practical ways. So, oh, it's okay. Yeah, thank you. So the takeaway isn't something that I took away from the script or the film. The takeaway was the honor of somebody opening up to me. Yeah. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Again, you don't constantly do anything with it. It deepens your experience, and frankly, the thing is that we're just bearing witness anyway as artists, and you know, it comes out where it comes out. It's like having it, you know, it's your instrument. It helps you bend notes whenever you need to bend a note, because you have an emotional memory of that, and it's muscular, a muscular emotional energy.
That's the highest stakes takeaway that you could have from a project. So thank you for sharing that. I'm wondering too if is there a takeaway from, is there an acting technique or something that you studied maybe at Boston University that you still use to this day?
Back in the last century.
I mean, I sometimes I ask actors what their process is and if they have a set process, but it's usually no.
Telling the truth.
Telling the truth. Okay.
Being honest. You know what? This is one thing that I know that I learned immediately when I came to camera work, because I trained on stage at BU, is don't let them have a take that you know is not honest, because you have no control over it. Oh. And so every take, and you know, the thing that you can't do, and they can't hit you and they can't fire you because they can't get anybody that day. So when when you're just like, you're in the middle of a scene and you know when it's just gone a little, when the wine is off or the meat's a little rancid, and you go like, well, I just go like, oops, hang on, I don't believe it. If you don't want to say that, you can just say, Janice, would you please go to this store? Her name's not Janice. Oh, sorry. And then you get your next day. I'm sorry. And everybody, you know, they make us feel like we can't get a second take. the lights, the props, everybody. You do it 20 times for every other department. Take your 4 or 5 flubs. Take them. But also, when I talk about honesty, you want to give your editor choices, and the other actor will freak out if you like really change up, usually. But so you just bend it a little bit in a different direction, keeping the same, whatever needs to happen in the scene, whatever is expected of you. They won't even see it on the monitor. I hate those monitors. They won't see it on the monitor, but when that editor gets it on her big screen, she'll like, So she's got different colors to paint with. And, you know, they used to, your director, I'm not going to talk about the old days, never mind. But everybody's sitting in front of that monitor. What do young actors want to do? Cut is a monitor. Click the monitor. You know, your character does not know there's a monitor and doesn't go to a monitor in life. And in life, if somebody's standing in the mirror all the time, you don't really trust them or talk to them because they're prepossessed about something else.
Right. Totally. Amazing. Last question. Many actors struggle to get in the door. I would love to know your number one piece of career advice.
I'd ask you which door.
Uh-huh.
You know, the thing is now, it is easier to make yourself known. You just go on the internet. I can't tell in here, but there's probably people in here that there used to be a mogul at the studio. The mogul, you know, was somebody that, you know, everybody appealed to their sense of vision and ego to discover something and put something out. You couldn't see them unless a certified agent sent you. Casting people didn't matter like they do now. Now you make friends with a casting person. Actually, the casting person's assistant or receptionist is who you want to make friends with. But then, your work in life was to get a good agent. So they could send you there. There were these gates. Nobody knew how to get in. And some people could just walk in the front door. Y'all know who they are. Some people might come in the back door. They were a little bit less all-American than what was considered all-American. Then some people came through the windows. I walked through the walls, seriously. They didn't know how I got in the room. And a lot of times people said to me, you know, I don't know why I'm going to hire you for this. And I just thought, you don't need to know why, because, you know, I came through the wall. I'm a spiritual being. That's how I got in here. But now, the thing is, and it's scary to me because I don't speak the language, but my kids do, there is nothing between you and telling your story. You can, you know, film it, put it online, you can make yourself known. And interestingly enough, and I'm not a fan of that, people get hired that you're working with because they've got 5 million viewers, have done nothing else, have gone nowhere to make community with any other artist or had any kind of training, but yet they get hired because they got all the likes. So we're in a time of like, as with any innovation, there's the great things about it, and then there's the total BS stuff that is detrimental. But that's when we have to really stay present, because it's going to happen anyway. So, I mean, the moving image is the most, I think is the most powerful tool, one of the most powerful tools that people have. And so if people of conscience walk away from it, then it's going to be left to the you-know-whats. And so we have to find a way to bring the sacred, which is storytelling, for the health of the tribe, into the secular, which is a meat market, and to still be forgiving every moment of every day of the process and of the people in it, because everybody's doing the best they can.
That's just about the best note to end on. Thank you, Alfre.